Faceit's own TF2 matchmaking was set to be the savior of this game, with botless games, quick matchmaking, and a casual feeling for all players. But only a few months after the initial launch of their matchmaking service, it seems as though Faceit TF2 is dead. Today I want to talk about why that might be and how it could potentially be brought back. The main point that is being raised by most people whenever you mention Faceit, and the fact that it doesn't have nearly as many players as it once did, is that people found it way too competitive for a service that promised to be a casual matchmaking experience. It wasn't exactly what people were hoping for or really even expecting with this service. There's a lot of reasons that Faceit's matchmaking ended up feeling a lot more competitive than anything else. The rules put in place to stop people from leaving the matches, else they'll get penalized, the stopwatch mode, the removal of random crits, and other features that I'll mention later really subtracted from the whole casual matchmaking environment that most people were expecting when first playing Faceit. The match balance was another small issue, but it was brand new at the time, so it would have been a miracle for any company to get that right off the start, so I'll let them off with that. But a lot of players didn't like the fact that they were forced to play with people who were really good for a little bit of time while the matchmaking calibrated itself. However, it was pretty clear that Faceit's idea of what a casual matchmaking system is like was completely different to that of the TF2 community. You have to remember that Faceit has never really done anything with TF2 except for a small competitive tournament years and years ago, and they are predominantly a CSGO matchmaking provider, and the Counter-Strike community is completely different to the TF2 community. It's no wonder that Faceit has a more competitive version of casual in mind when coming from CSGO into TF2. If you look at what Faceit released just as a singular product and nothing else, no other biases going into it, they made what they intended to make. That was the matchmaking system that they wanted to create, and they did that. It just wasn't exactly what the TF2 community really was looking for or really wanted. So Faceit didn't fail making the product they intended to make. They did do that. They failed really gauging the interest of the people for that specific project. Another reason Faceit felt a lot more competitive than initially intended was the added element of the Faceit Points. Basically, with Faceit Points, you can buy yourself TF2 items, or even just items from any of the game, and even peripherals like actual real-life keyboards, mice, monitors. I think there was a laptop as well. At one point, they had a car on there that you could buy with Faceit Points from playing video games. And you got those points from ranking up and basically playing Faceit games and ranking high on a daily ladder. Which is a really cool concept, especially when you're trying to sell people on the fact that your matchmaking is really good. Giving them an incentive to actually play is always quite helpful. But when you do have to rank yourself up to get Faceit Points, which means you have to win, and you also have to place highly on daily ladders to even start collecting any good amount of Faceit Points at all, people are going to start trying very, very hard. For a good month or two, it was the same two people winning all of the main ladder prizes, giving nobody even a chance to get close to winning all the unusuals and all of the other really expensive strangers that Faceit were giving away. And I know that's kind of the point. The person who plays the most and wins the most gets the highest amount of ladder points, so they win the biggest prize. That makes complete sense to me. I wasn't playing for the prizes, to be completely honest. Like, I still have 11,000 Faceit points in my account that I haven't spent yet, so I'm not too fussed about it all. But I do understand that a lot of people who were playing a lot, who wanted to try and win these prizes, were a little bit annoyed that they were constantly being beaten out by Prem players playing with their team and winning all of the best prizes every single day. Again, I wasn't too bothered, but it was something I noticed that it was the same couple of names all the time, winning all of the prizes, and yeah, it gets a little bit boring. I do think, though, that once Faceit released their current matchmaking and saw the response from the community, it would have been really cool if soon after that they could have released a more casual, like almost serverless type thing. A bit like Uncletopia does now. Servers that just kind of let you leave whenever you want, you can have random crits on and all of the default server settings, make it as close to casual as possible. And then if you wanted to incentivize people to play in those servers instead of something like Uncletopia, you could give people passive Faceit points just for being in the server and actively playing the game. You wouldn't be giving out as many as you would be for the top ladder prizes, but that wouldn't matter because you'd be getting them just for playing the game, and the emphasis then is not on winning, but rather just being in a server and playing. And as well with the server list, you can also include the regions in the world that the Faceit servers don't already cover, opening up that Faceit experience to a bunch of other people who currently can't play it and have never had the chance to play it because of the awful ping they would have connecting to the other side of the world. I really don't mind the current matchmaking system at all, but it was a lot to stream that, actually do well, and try and keep my stream entertaining and reading what was in my chat all at the same time. Like, it was a skill level I wasn't used to playing at, so I found it really hard to actually get the content I wanted to get, which was my main issue with Faceit. With all of that aside though, I feel like the most controversial point of Faceit's TF2 matchmaking was the fact that they had an anti-cheat software that you pretty much had to download after just a couple of Faceit games, and that has scared a lot of people off. You have people on both sides. Some people are saying it's a really harmful program and it does a lot of damage to your computer. Some people are saying it's absolutely harmless and it just doesn't do what people are saying it does. But nobody really knows what's going on with it, and you've got an echo chamber on both sides and nothing useful is coming out of either side from anyone. I personally had to download it after like 4 or 5 games, and I think it's still on my PC today. It works for Valorant, that type of anti-cheat software. That is all it is there for. And while I was playing Faceit, I never ran into a cheater. I knew that all of the shots I died to were fired by people who were actually just good at the game and whose skill level is a lot higher than what I was used to. I get some people might be a little bit hesitant to download something like that onto their computer, and a lot of people are super paranoid about that. It makes a lot of sense, but it seems to work, at least from what I saw. Maybe if Faceit did do these casual server lists, you wouldn't actually need the anti-cheat to play on those servers, but you could use like moderators that get called in whenever somebody is potentially cheating and gets reported a few times. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's the only thing I could think of straight off the bat, so I can get this out in a good amount of time. But for the more competitive matchmaking that is the current Faceit 12v12, I feel like an anti-cheat is a pretty good idea. Faceit could have been a huge part of TF2's matchmaking landscape, however it feels as though they fumbled along the way. I would love to see Faceit make a proper comeback with a more casual version of their matchmaking experience that they've already got, and I can't imagine it would be super difficult to iron out some of the issues people were having with the service either. Let me know down below in the comments what you think Faceit's biggest fault was and what they could do to fix that kind of thing for you if they were to release a new matchmaking system. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more stuff from me, then please make sure you leave this video a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. There's also my Discord server down below. You can join for updates on my content and what I'm up to. And there's a Patreon and merch links down below as well if you want to support me with either of those two things. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.